2 minutes, kiddo.
If we can get some professional wrestlers involved, then that's what the film's about, professional wrestling. That's how, instead of car chases, we've got body slams and stuff like that. We shot that film, I guess we started in 2007 and finished in 2008. And it all kind of fell over in post-production for a whole lot of reasons. We made some rookie errors with sound. Stuff went bad with the Contra deal, and I ended up without getting any of those sound files back. So I was back to having a film with no sound files synced. At which point I kind of had a mental breakdown and went, this has to go on the shelf. I have to find myself a job and pay some debts and move out of my mum's house and all that kind of stuff. So I put the film on the shelf for a while and went back to life. Life got back on track and sort of got bored, and I was like, I need to make another film. I can't quite face going back to From Parts Unknown yet. Let's make a short film. And in my mind, I'd had this idea of doing a rip-off of The Warriors. They've got those themed gangs. They've got the Baseball Furies, and they've got all those themed gangs. And I thought, it'd be really cool to have a gang who was like roller derby girls. So that was my concept. And eventually it turned into a roller derby slasher movie, which was Murderdrome. Yeah, and From Parts Unknown, Anthony Moran was one of the producers, who was also the guy in charge of sets, was working on the Pacific. So that's we were shooting while that was shooting in Melbourne, and they were throwing out heaps of material after they wrapped on sets, like flats and just bits of useful stuff. So he essentially stole all of that. So we were able to get the materials for free. Then it was just Anthony and his chippy buddies got together and they built the set. So we had a production designer too, who designed the set, and then they built it. So we had Anthony again. We were in a pretty much a derelict warehouse that was nearby where he lived. It had no power or anything like that. He found out who owned it, and we got access. I think we paid some amount of money to get access, but not a lot. I honestly don't know what it was, but we had access to that warehouse. So we built a set in there, and then shot a lot of the film in there. Just dressed a lot of it. Put a wrestling ring in there and hung a lot of pipes and stuff from a lot of tube things from the roof. And sort of made a set in this derelict warehouse that had no power, which meant we had to get a whole shit ton of generators and put them right at the back and cover them with mattresses. We just put the word out on Facebook to get our auditions. Murderdrome was very similar as well. In Murderdrome, we were auditioning Derby girls as well, so we'd made contacts with the Derby community to help get the film going, so we sort of put word of mouth out through there. There's that website Star Now as well, which you can stick casting calls up on. But that's basically how you just put the word out. And then you ask all the people you know who've worked with it before, do you know anyone who might be good for this part? Do you know anyone? You just read around. And you always, I'm always very careful to make sure to tell them it's not paid. Make sure to tell them they're not getting paid. They're also not going to get famous. Just make sure they know that, and then get them to give me a call. But just auditioning. You just audition and you find somebody who you think is got the right kind of vibe. So all those characters in The Office are based on people I worked with, like the IT guy and the psycho boss and all of that. So it came from... And the marketing guy, Frank, the funny guy, Ross Ditcham is the actor's name. He's me. He's very funny. He's a great talent, Ross. He's a very, very great talent. I met him working on a Richard Wollstonecraft film. I was a line producer or an assistant producer of some sort on The Beautiful and Damned. And Ross played the lead in that, which is a very, very serious film, and he's a very serious, dark, kind of tortured, nihilistic character. But in between takes, he was hilarious, and so I thought, well, we've got to have this Ross guy. Well, she came in and auditioned. There was a part in From Parts Unknown of a receptionist who had one line, but was sort of in a lot of scenes, but always just sitting at the reception desk. And she came in and read that one line, and then we said thank you, and she wandered out. And the guy who was standing behind the camera, like this guy, after she walked out, just turned around and said, who are you looking for Charlie? Charlie's the hero or whatever. And I said, she needs to be this sort of, like a little baby Wonder Woman, but with a bit of sort of, like Little Girl Lost. And he just pointed to her as she was walking down the stairs and went, well, that's fucking her. So like the other producer ran out and said, can you come back? And we got her to read, we just threw bits of script at her and said, just do this. And I can kind of remember we were watching back the auditions later where you watch through everybody who auditioned, and she just jumped out of the screen. They did 9 weeks worth of training, those girls. PCW sponsored the film, so they let us come out to their training school once a week, And so all the girls who had to learn how to be pro wrestlers went out and trained 2 hours a week for 9 weeks to be able to do what they did. And she was, I must say she didn't let us down in terms of her commitment to all the physical stuff. She did do all her own stunts. I don't know, you've seen the film, you might remember towards the end she gets thrown over the ropes into a steel cage. She knocked herself out doing that. And I always make the poor bastards do their own stunts. And I had, we've just finished casting for our next film, and the conversation I had with the girl who's playing the lead, 90% of it was like, we are going to make you do your own stunts, so you're sure you're cool with that. But when we say stunts, like, you know, no one falls out of a building or anything like that, and no one rolls a car or any crazy stuff like that. It's people punching each other and throwing each other. I do have friends and contacts who are stunt people, and I know an awful lot of professional wrestlers as well. So we have people who can teach you how to pretend to fight quite well, in theory, without hurting yourself. But again, it's that authenticity thing. If you're gonna do stunts, then make the cast do them. And we will use them for some stuff. We're going to attempt some wire work in the next one, so there'll be stunt people around to make that happen, but it'll be the actors doing it. And so From Parts Unknown we shot every Saturday and Sunday, and it was 42 days of shooting, which is about 6 months. So it was 6 months of, I lost my job partway through From Parts Unknown, so I ended up with a heap of extra time, but a lot of people were obviously working 7 days a week to get that shot.